All right, hello and welcome to What Was Short, featuring Jack McEwan of Psychedelic Porn Crumpets. For me, one of the most flipping brilliant and I got to switch up saying galvanizing, but just it's so exciting. This band out of Australia, and the actual conversation because let me explain. What was that radio.com is a place to discover true modern rock. It's a podcast that splits into two directions. A conversation with Jack, the one we had prior, was nearly 3 hours. Then there's What Was Short, when one of my best friends, Mike Battle, chooses his favourite little nugget. In and around 10 minutes was said and done. Boom, that's it. What Was That Radio.com is also where I do a weekday show between 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock a.m. to p.m. Pacific time as I broadcast from Vancouver Island in Canada. It's an academy. It's a foundation. It's a community of wuzzers. Just a bunch of people that want to live in the moment and enjoy as much modern rock as possible. And then, when these conversations come about, dissect and get to know these incredible creators best we can. And in this sense, we're going to dive into Dread and Butter. We're going to dive into how, that's a song, by the way, how Jack goes about composing and writing in the first place. I really appreciate your time being here. Here's What Was Short with Psychedelic Porn Crumpets. Talk us a little bit about Dread and Butter, because I think, again, lyrically, it's full of your character that I adore and is so witty and grounded. And then musically, sonically, it's just so lush. And you've said in all these gearing up for the Night Known record, you've said, well, we'll get a bit metal, we'll get a bit Sabbath, and we'll get a little bit beautiful. And I wasn't expecting it to be like this. It's amazing.
Thank you very much. I think it literally, Dread and Butter sort of stems from exactly that conversation you had with your mate Alex about not being able to remember, like, fuck all. You sort of, I think I had a similar thing with a couple of friends. And the girlfriend now, she has the best memory ever. And so I was like, I'm kind of intimidated by her memory. Like every holiday she's been on, she'll just remember, like, I was there and I did this, stayed up till 3, and then we went out. I was like, man, like the last 2 years of my head are blanks. I remember you, I love you, but I don't know what. It's like, so I think it was that me trying to remember childhood, and I was like, all right, what do I remember? And I remembered like building forts up the woods or something, like, because I grew up in England as well, just outside of Milton Keynes and like Woburn Sands. So it was really nice. It was like sort of little country lanes that would just be connected by like tractors going to the pub, like, and then you just have like woodlands in between. So like building bracken forts and getting cuts and bruises and like putting conkers and vinegar in the fridge and doing like conker battles and stuff. Sort of, yeah. And then just smelling like sauerbrain because you just like get cuts all over yourself. So it was sort of like, I was like, all right, that's sort of kind of remember. And it was, and then afterwards you're just churning your head because you're thinking too much about why I'm not thinking. So it was all like that kind of dread. And I thought Dread and Butter's kind of like, I don't know, it sounded nice, rolled off the tongue easy. And it sort of went together. And I think the riff is a little play on Hats Off to the Green Bin. So that it's the same, I think it's the same guitar structure. So I don't know if you can hear it, but you got that. It's in the wrong key. I'll get the old acoustic. Where is it? I've lost my guitar.
Is that one drop to B or what?
That's just standard drop D, but as in the whole thing's.
Just the interview I watched before I chat with you. You were talking about drop B a lot, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll smuggle that in.
So the Hats Off to the Green Bins was that kind of like you got that last little note on that sort of C kind of thing. I don't know, but then I just used the chorus in Dread and Butter. So I was like, oh, that's like, it's just so nice with the strings sort of on top of it. You got that, just like one of those lazy kind of songs, you know, when you're just like, I don't want to move my hands a lot, but it kind of feels nice. I can imagine like I don't know, a lot of those slower Metallica ones. What's that one where it's like, dun, 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 dun. He must have just been on his belly, just like, didn't want to move a hand at all. He's like, all right, that's how that song goes. But they sort of somehow feel a lot, they've got that kind of lazy vibe to it. And then if you do just put some drums or a bit of some strings and sort of build it, like Radiohead do that amazingly.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like it's no effort to listen to it. It's especially the newer record they did, the Moon-Shaped Pool, like that Daydreaming song, where it's like the way the piano changes from going from clean to then it's like some Leslie kind of vibe, and then you've got that Wurlitzer thing going on as well. Like it took me about 8 listens before I sort of picked up on it. But like, oh, that piano is like not the same piano. It's just constantly changing and changing. And I think that's something that they've worked on. And obviously, they're not allowed to be a band. They've got fucking Johnny Greenwood, who's like arguably one of the best modern composers
on
ever.
the planet. Yeah.
Yeah, his film scores and everything. Like, yeah, he's nuts. He's the BBC's golden child. They're just like, all right, we'll get Johnny on it. Like, he'll just make whatever Attenborough's done in the last 30 years to it'll just be huge.
Yeah. Just Johnny and David in a room together going, in a battle to survive, over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Johnny, I need something that's like a battle to survive. Okay, I got you. Yeah. We're good. But usually everything is made predominantly. It's all you in that room for the most part, right? With Shiger, is that the situation with Gnome coming up or not?
Yeah, like I think it's only because a lot of the time, like it happened on the first couple of records where I'd save the idea. I think I wasn't as good at recording back then. Like I'm not even that good at recording now, but I sort of at least can get it to a more finished position in my head. Like, or if I'm sitting here, rather than fleshing the whole song out on a guitar and then going into a jam room and trying to work it with the boys and stuff, it feels like you're saving 3 months worth of work if I could do that in a day here, where I'm like, the drums are done, the guitar's done, the bass is done, sort of vocal pattern ideas and the violins and things. So I don't know. And then I spend the next 3 months tweaking bits and pieces, because I suppose that's where maybe the confusion or some of the confusion, a lot of the songwriting comes from. Maybe you're just like, how is it there? Where have we gone from this part and that part? But because I'm maybe a bit bored of listening to the original, that I've gone, let's just fuck it up purposefully and try and change bits and pieces. And then all the weird little guitars that are in Shiger come in. So I'm like, I think I've got to sort of go back to Shiger. I love the little tweaks and sort of the blah, blah, blah. I don't even know what they call that. The glitched out guitar kind of transposed things that are real high, but it sort of got a bit confusing, a bit messy with the compression, I think. So it almost would have worked as like a cleaner record in some parts, but I think that was just because I thought about it for way too long. So there's a classic example of overthinking. So I think now I'm getting to the point where it's like, I need to work. If I'm working on a song, I can't give it more than 2 days before I have to work on something else. Else I'll scrap it. And I think I've been doing that so much now that I'll be like, the whole week I'll work on 5 minutes of music, and I'm just like progressively feeling more enthused about it. And I'll go to the pub and be like, man, the thing I'm working on, I'm talking like to a couple of friends or whatever, and showing my girlfriend, I'm like sitting down here in the speakers again. She's like, oh, I think this would be a good one. I think you'll be all right. And then by Friday, you like feel like a dick because you just scrapped it all, and you're just like, man, it was useless. Like, why do you even think it was good? Yeah. So I've just used that and repeat, and then go back through what I sort of created maybe a couple of months ago. And I'm like, oh, there's something in here actually. So I've completely forgotten about how you even record it, what instruments are on there. It's sort of the idea itself is kind of just the thing you take in. So yeah.
Oh, it was such a good conversation with Jack. For goodness sake, if you enjoyed that little tidbit. Can I Google? I'm just going to Google that. Sorry. Is it tidbit or tidbid? It can't be tidbid. It's like fucking eBay. Tidbit. A small piece of tasty food. Fuck. The full can be found at whatwasthatradio.com/podcast if you want to check it out. Whatever you do with the rest of the day. And as always, please look after yourself. And I hope there's some fun and smiles involved in it too, because we've got to cherish that positive. One tidbit at a time. Oh, God. Let's get out of here. Cheerio for now.